Hello YouTube, it's Lane here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Today we are reviewing Captain Harlock, which I'm not going to show you physically because it's a pain in the ass to take it out, especially when I have to move all of that shit that's in front of the in front of the bookshelf. But I'll show you a picture right now. So there you go. That's what Captain Harlock looks like. And yeah, it's written by Leiji Matsumoto and it's published by Seven Seas in this classic collection edition, which is very nice. It's a very good hardcover. It generally is very nice, but it does have a tendency to be slightly damaged on the flaps at the beginning. So a little bit of caution when you're reading the book, when you're opening it. And I definitely recommend that you guys crack the spine in the same way that, you know, comic book people recommend you crack spines of omnibuses, because it would be very, very helpful. You know, make sure that you don't really ruin the spine of your book when you're trying to read it. So there you go. The demographic here, as far as I can tell, is shonen, based on the demographic for the anime, and definitely based on the demographic for the manga, since this ran in a shonen magazine, or in two different shonen magazines, if I remember correctly. And the genres here are science fiction and space opera. This is very kind of in line with the other Leiji Matsumoto work that I reviewed, which is Space Battleship Yamato, which you guys can check out right there. Or right there, I can't remember what side the stupid card is in, but eventually I'll remember it. And yeah, it's very good. Now, this does have an adaptation, or this is an adaptation, I think, of the original anime that came out way back when in the 1970s, I think. Yeah, I think around that era, a little bit after Star Wars, if I remember correctly, in the same time frame as Star Wars. But it's very nice. And yeah, so the premise here is basically that humanity is being threatened by this race of alien women that seem to explode. And there's this young man wanting to avenge his father's death because one of these alien women killed him. And he joins this crew of space pirates, helmed by the titular Captain Harlock. And these space pirates are the only ones that are willing to do anything about the kind of invasion of aliens onto Earth, right? Because of this kind of traditional science fiction idea that humanity is stagnant, and that we don't really progress after a certain point, and we just stop caring because there's enough money and food and stuff for everyone, and this kind of idea. And it leads to this conflict of, like, inward conflict of characters wanting to do something, wanting to be able to, you know, save their world, compared to all of the other people in society not really giving a crap. So it's very interesting. I thought it was very good. Although the plot line is kind of not the best in terms of, like, describing it, I guess. So let's actually get into that right now. The plot line here is a little bit tough to kind of explain. Like, we follow Captain Harlock and his crew, and we follow them through the eyes of this other character, which is a kid that wants revenge for his father's death. And we kind of see them traveling around and fighting these aliens called the Mazans, or the Mazons, I guess, because they're like Amazon, Mazon, I don't know what to call them, but it's spelled M-A-Z-O-N, right? And so we follow them through this kind of space trip that they take, where they're trying to kind of find out more about the Mazon, and then they have these fights with them, and then they kind of, like, are mostly interested in using the story, the flight path that the ship is taking, as a way to kind of explore who Captain Harlock is, and explore the kind of ideas of humanity and what it means to be human, and what if humans meet their creator, and what if there is no creator, and stuff like that. Like, very kind of philosophical, old school kind of ideas. And it also kind of talks about this idea about what a man should be and what a woman should be, which I think is very outdated, but, like, is relatively kind of romanticized in a way. And it's kind of interesting. I think the plot line works nicely as an exploration of humanity, but it doesn't really work well as a space science fiction, right? But science fiction is usually very action heavy, at least nowadays. And so it's not the best, because there's a bit of a culture shock here, because this is kind of old school fantasy. It's speculative science fiction. It's about this kind of idea that, you know, we aren't really trying to have an action series. We're trying to explore an idea through writing this fake universe, right? And so it might not be the best for modern readers, but it is kind of interesting, and it's kind of a very nice thing to have. in this kind of way of like collecting the classics because classic things are meaningful to your genre, right? So I think that's why I'm collecting it. And I did find it interesting and enjoyable to read, but it's not really like the best thing ever. Like, it's not going to be something that blows your socks off. If you want an action-heavy science fiction space opera type of manga, there's a lot better ones that you can read for the sake of entertainment and enjoyment, not for, like, if you don't really want to deal with this kind of idea that it's kind of exploring something, right? So there you go. That's kind of it on the plot line there. The characters here are relatively interesting. There's Captain Harlock, who is this Han Solo kind of guy. Very interesting, very cool. He has this very kind of mysterious background, which we never really learn much about, but I think that it kind of adds to his allure, right? Like, the moment we saw Han Solo as a kid kind of harmed our impression of Han Solo. Like, the Han Solo movie is fun. I thought it was actually one of the best, what's called Disney era movies of Star Wars, but it's not the best in terms of, like, helping us care about Han Solo more. It just kind of ruins him because now he's a bumbling idiot, right? Instead of this very cool, suave guy that does have his moments of idiocy, like in the original trilogy. So I think it was good that we kept the mystery and that we didn't really learn too much about him. But of course, it's always a nice kind of idea to always go back and kind of actually tell you about the character instead of just keep him mysterious for the sake of keeping him mysterious. And then there's a few other characters. There's this female alien that is friends of Captain Harlock that was pretty interesting. And then there was the Amazon Queen, who was also relatively interesting. But she was more of a counter to Harlock, like a two sides of the same coin kind of thing. More so than she was like a personal kind of character. Like, she wasn't really that good as an individual character. She was better as the antagonistic force that is the other side of Harlock, if that makes sense. I don't know. I thought it was very interesting, but the characters are not like the greatest thing ever, you know? Again, this is just a fault of it being like the first of its kind, the earliest story that we can find of this sort. And that's just kind of going to be the case with a lot of these classic collection type of series. So there you go. Now, world building wise, I think it's pretty good. It has this kind of humanity is decadent and stagnant kind of thing that I mentioned earlier. It has these Amazons being super hyper logical aliens, which is very traditional. I think this is a pair of tropes that happen even nowadays in science fiction and a lot of fantasy as well. And then we kind of explore most of the world building happens to link with this exploration of what it means to be humanity and what it means to be alone in the universe. But there really isn't like anything crazy. Again, this is going to be like the thing this whole review. Art-wise, it's not bad in terms of the characters. I think that once you get used to it, it's good. But the art really shines in the technical design and the mechanical stuff. It's not the best in terms of characters. It's not horrible, but it's not like that great. Clearly, Leiji Matsumoto wasn't the best at characters. He was much better at like the scenic stuff. Fanservice wise, it's very minimal. I don't really think there is any, but like someone's gonna be like, "Oh, this alien is naked. This is bad," you know. So there you go. That's all I gotta say about that. Rating wise, it's a 3 out of 5. Again, this is a classic. It's been done better since it was released, but this is like a seminal text in this genre, in this style, right? In manga. So I can't like discount it too much, and I can't judge it too harshly because this is an early exploration of the genre and an early exploration of the medium. So of course it's not going to look or feel or be as awesome as anything that is available today, but it is still important because without this, there would not be what there is today, right? So I think that even though it's a 3 out of 5, it's not something that you can just dismiss out of hand because, oh, the art is bad or because, you know, the story is not so good. It's not necessarily about that. It's about knowing the roots of the genre you like, right? So I think that's it. It's an important aspect of why I want to collect these types of stories, right? Even if they're not my favorite, I respect them for what they are and what they mean to the genre I love, right? So yeah, I definitely recommend these. I think that they're interesting, and this kind of same idea that I keep repeating, that this is like where the things you enjoy now come from. You can't just dismiss it. You gotta read it, and maybe if you don't like it, then don't buy it. But like, I think it's very good and very meaningful to kind of read these things, right? So I definitely recommend it in that sense. And of course, the similar titles here are obviously Other Things by Leiji Matsumoto, Space Battleship Yamato, and of course other things related to it like Queen Emeralda and Captain Harlock Dimensional Voyage and stuff like that. But I haven't read those, so I don't necessarily know if they're really that similar, but they're by the same author or in the same vein of storytelling, right? So there you go. That's all I have to say. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. See you guys later.